I'm Timothy Rubb, the George D. Widener Director and Chief Executive Officer of the Philadelphia Museum of Art. Yes, it is. We have done many exhibitions of Duchamp's work here at the Philadelphia Museum of Art. We've also lent a lot of very important works by Duchamp to exhibitions around the world, in this country, in Europe, and elsewhere. But we've not sent an exhibition of Duchamp's work abroad, and this seemed to me to be an important undertaking for the museum. What's more, I thought it was a very important, I may be getting ahead of myself here, but I thought it was a very important opportunity for us to not only do an exhibition that covered Duchamp's work, but also talked about his life and his personality, because the two are so closely intertwined. What's interesting about sending an exhibition of Duchamp's work to Tokyo is that Japan was the first country in East Asia to really embrace Duchamp. He's had a long history of showing his work there. There's been a long history of interest in his work. And so people are aware of Duchamp and his legacy in Tokyo, perhaps to a greater extent than anywhere else in East Asia. So for me, it seemed natural to bring Duchamp back to Tokyo and to introduce him and his work to a new generation of the Japanese public, Japanese artists, scholars who may know about Duchamp and may appreciate his place in the history of modern art, but may not have been able to see a body of work. And I'm very excited about the conversations that this will create in a place like Tokyo. Well, you said a moment ago that this relationship is a friendship. It's really about how we've not simply worked together, but become partners and friends in so many ways. And so when we first thought about sending an exhibition of Duchamp's work to Tokyo, it was natural for us to think about working in partnership with you again. I also consider, of the many museums that I've visited in Japan, I consider the Tokyo National Museum to hold a very special place. It's a magical place in a sense. Wonderful buildings, a wonderful campus, the combination of art and nature in so many interesting ways, and so many brilliant masterpieces that give you the visitor insight into the history of Japanese art. And one of the things that I hope will happen with the exhibition of this presentation of this exhibition at the Tokyo National Museum is that there will be a conversation for your visitors between Duchamp and the past, between Duchamp's work and the work of a different culture. Because there are obviously differences, but there are many kinds of similarities and points of contact. Duchamp's sense of humor, Duchamp's belief in the connection between art and life, Duchamp's exploration of chance, Duchamp's exploration of silence in a way. So he's a fascinating subject to put into the context of Japanese culture and of the history of Japanese art. I think that's very exciting. I think it's going to be absolutely fascinating for your visitors to look at the two exhibitions in relation to each other and to understand that as strange and odd as contemporary art, modern art, particularly Duchamp, can seem to people, there is this profound connection between contemporary art and the work of artists today and the past. And it's our job to kind of put those two together and show those connections. And I think it'll give you and your colleagues at the Tokyo National Museum an enormously interesting and rich opportunity to do programs and point out those connections. So I think it's going to be a great thing. I have to say that I think the ready-mades are really quite extraordinary. Of course I love Nude Descending the Staircase, that great painting from 1913. But the ready-mades, which he began to work on immediately after the Nude Descending the Staircase, and then produce over the course of time, really changed the history of art. Not simply modern art, they changed the history of art. Fountain, the bicycle wheel, the snow shovel, CC of Paris Air, 50 cc's rather of Paris Air. All of these were radical, truly radical statements at the moment, and they still, today, 100 years later, have this sense of newness, strangeness, and they challenge us even now, a century later, and I think that's extraordinary. What I'd like to say is that we at the Philadelphia Museum of Art have a special fondness for Japanese art, Japanese culture, the Japanese people, and our colleagues at institutions like the Tokyo National Museum. It is a great pleasure for us to work in partnership with you to help us share our collections and the story of the history of art that many of your visitors will be unfamiliar with new audiences in a great museum, in a great city. Tokyo is a remarkable place, and to be able to have Duchamp's work shown there in this way is full of possibilities for me. It's absolutely wonderful.